Hey guys, and welcome back for another tutorial. Today I'm going to be doing one for the fur babies. Of course, we love them and we want them to have enrichment and play and activities like we do with our kids, but now we do it with our dogs. So this is a snuffle mat. You may have seen these before, you may not have. It's basically an enrichment toy for your dog, and you can feed their meals on them, or you can use it as just for treats, just for fun, something to, for them to do during the day when they're maybe at home alone, or who knows what. If you just want to keep your pup busy for a little bit when you're trying to run off and do your laundry, this is a great stimulus for their brain, activates their senses so it can use their nose so they can find all their treats and all the little webbing pieces. So I'm just going to show you a closer look of the mat. I made this out of webbing, which is kind of like dog leash material, waterproof canvas, and I even put a little plate in the center, and that is a nice little textured place that I can put some of their wet food on and then allow them to lick it off. So I actually got that over at the dollar store. That's actually a frisbee I just put upside down. So I will have a blog post where you can find all the materials that I use. I'm going to do my best to find all these things, and but if not, you can always just kind of go around to the different stores and see what you can find. But I do love the frisbee in the center. I actually ended up sewing that on, but we'll talk about that later on in the video. So this is really a project that you can have fun with. You can do some research online if you don't necessarily like my style. There's so many other styles of snuffle mats out there that you can look at and grab some ideas from. Hopefully you get an idea of exactly how I made this, and of course use some of these techniques if you do plan on making one yourself. This one is sort of a beginner style snuffle mat, so it's fairly easy, a little time consuming, but fairly easy to make. And this one's very durable as opposed to the other mats where I've seen some that were made out of fleece or felt. This one is going to definitely stand the test of time, especially if you do have a rough dog who likes to chew on things. So this is going to be great for puppies who are teething as well. So the first thing I'm going to do is just make a template. So I'm just using a big piece of paper. I'm going to fold that 2 times, and I'm going to trace out a quarter of a circle. I'm just going to make it about 20 inches in diameter. So I'm just measuring 10 inches from the folded corner with my ruler, and then I put little dots every couple inches, and then I'll just kind of trace my line, and then I will have a quarter of my circle. This part is pretty straightforward. If you've ever done this before, it's exactly the same as what you remember. But I will have the exact measurements of how much webbing I used over at that blog post, and links to the webbing. And of course, if you do decide to buy it through those links, that does help support this channel, and I appreciate you if you do. Also, I do have Instagram and TikTok. Those links are down below. Come over there, show me what you're working on. I would love to share it with the community. It is growing strong. My TikTok is slowly growing. I have to get better at that. And my Patreon supporters, thank you so much for all of your support. If you don't already know, all of my patterns I develop into PDFs and offer for free over there with your support. And yeah, now I'm just gonna go to Live Ashley right about now. So I found this little frisbee. I found this at Dollarama in Canada, and on the back of it, it actually has these ridges. So I thought these would be really good to put into the center of the snuffle mat, and then this can be a place where you can smear wet food or coconut oil or whatever you want to do on here, and then your pup can lick it off. So I'm definitely going to be using this for the center. I'm going to be using webbing for this project just because it will hold up if you have a rough doggy, which a lot of us do, who want to bite and you know, pull at things. So I have 1.5 inch webbing here. And I'm going to do 3 colors just to be a little bit more fun. So I have green, blue, and then I have this yellow. Now, like I said, if you can't source 1.5 inch, you can do 1 inch, you can do 2 inches, but if you do, of course, smaller or larger, it's just going to adjust the measurements of your base piece. I'm going to use this 1 inch, and that's going to be to hem around the perimeter of the snuffle mat. I'm going to be making more of a rugged pad, but if you wanted to make one that's a little bit more softer, maybe you have a smaller dog like a Chihuahua or a Maltese or something like that, then you can definitely swap out the webbing for something like fleece. Fleece doesn't fray, so you could cut long strips of fleece about 1.5 inches and just use that the same way I use this. Okay, so the fabric I'll be using for this tutorial is going to be waterproof canvas. I'm using that because it is waterproof. It is kind of like a backpack material, so if you do put anything like wet, or even if your dog is a heavy drooler, then you won't risk getting it through the mat onto your nice floor. So if you want to do 2 layers of waterproof canvas, that would be great. If not, you could use something else for the outer if you wanted to put a fleece or something just so that it doesn't scratch your floor, if you're concerned about that. But I'm just going to do 2 layers of the waterproof canvas, and that's going to hide the stitches as well to be able to sandwich it with another piece. So we'll be putting the snuffle stuff on one of the layers, and then once it's finished, we'll put the backing on, and that'll hide all of the threads and everything. So I'm just going to do that, and then I can cut out my piece. Okay, so now we have both of our pieces, so we can take one of the pieces and set that aside, and we can work on the centerpiece. So I'm just gonna mark the center. And I'm going to try. I might need a bigger ruler. Six inches. Okay, that's pretty well. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and try to sew this on. I did check on Amazon, and they do have something very similar to this that's actually meant for licking. So you can check the blog post, or I'll have the link in the description box so you can get something similar. I think it's a little bit smaller, but it is exactly the same idea. So it's a great centerpiece for this little snuffle mat. I'm just going to get it in. There we go. So I'm just going to sew on the inside. Okay, turn it on. Love that. All right, good. Whoa. Oh, it looks pretty good. It did shift a little bit, but I did give myself a kind of a seam allowance, sort of, so that if I did not give myself enough, then I'll have some that I need to cut off, which is perfectly fine. So now we're going to attach our webbing. So I think I'm going to start with a yellow. And if you are using webbing, then you want to use a lighter to kind of finish off the edge, just so that it doesn't fray. So I'm just going to snip off the frays, and then I'm just going to do that. And this next part we're going to do basically at the sewing machine, but hopefully I can demonstrate kind of what we're working with. So I'm just going to start next to my little frisbee, and I'm going to do one row of stitching here. And then I'm going to fold it up, and I'm going to fold that over, and then I'm going to do another row of stitching, and then we'll have sort of like a little flappy thing. And then we will fold it up again, and it'll sort of go down, and then we're just going to slowly work our way around, and hopefully you have lots of webbing to be able to do this, because it's definitely going to be more than you think. But I have 15 yards of each color, so I think I'll have plenty. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to put our first, I'm just going to start a little bit away from this so we don't get in the way of that. So we're just going to do our first row of stitching. Uh-oh. Okay, and then I'll snip, and I don't think I'm going to undo the bottom strand. And then we will fold up kind of like that, and then fold it back. And you can make these as long as you want. The longer they are, the more kind of fluffy it will appear. And then we're going to sew probably like 1/4 of an inch past that first seam. Make sure you backstitch so that you can lock it all in and it's nice and strong. So there is your first one. And now we will, now I'm doing this on my industrial, but you really don't need to. Webbing isn't super thick, so you could use just like a stronger needle. So now I'm just going to kind of offset it. Okay, and if you keep up with cutting your threads, then you don't have to do it in the end, which is going to be a little bit more difficult. And how cute is that going to be when it stands up? And with the webbing, it will stand up better. And if you want to know what this is a thread zap. This is great for the industrial thread because it's kind of plasticky, so it sort of burns the edges and gives you kind of like a little seal there. It kind of burns it and into place, locks it even more. Okay, so we are almost done our row. So I'm just going to do one more and then show you how I finish it off. So I'm going to just make my last loop, and then I will kind of gauge how big I want my strap. Now I'm just going to singe off those edges. That'll help make it so that it doesn't come undone. And then I'm just sort of putting it over the raw edge of this part, and then I'll just sew right on top of it, and then it'll kind of look like it has no break in it. All right. So that's how it is looking, and then once it gets like fluffed up, then you won't see where it begins and ends. Okay, so here it is. This is the first loop. It does take a little while. I'm just going to show you the back. This is what it looks like. I just kept I didn't cut the bobbin thread at all. Because this is going to be sandwiched, you could kind of leave this and then no one would know. But if you don't like it, then you can of course just snip them off. Not too hard. But now we're gonna go get our second color, and we will start to do the next row. Okay, I'm just gonna show you quickly. I'm just going to start the next row. Just like I did the next one, and I'm gonna make it fairly close. As I go along, I'll probably need to just put it the whole row down, this row and that row, just so that I can see my stitches well. And then we will just begin. Same thing, we're going to just offset. Okay, so I'm finally done. This is how it is looking. So as you can see, because this was a little shifted, we have some inconsistencies around the edge of the circle, but that's okay. I'm going to cut off the excess. I'm probably going to leave about a ½ inch seam allowance around it. You can leave a little more if you like to. If you want to leave a good amount, if you want to make your circle bigger, and then you could have, you know, more room for in case there's spillage or things. Totally up to you. I'm just going to even it up with my scissors. Now I will have the actual amount of webbing that I use for each ring, but just know that, you know, depending on how big you make your loops, you could use more or less. My loops are about probably between 1 3/4 to 2 inches long, and I think that makes it really fluffy, so the food can kind of get into the loops, and then they would have to kind of open them up, but I think this is perfect. So now we can just finish it up. We're going to take our backing. Here's what the back looks like, which is, I just kind of gave it a rough cut, but I'm going to take this and I'm going to put this on the back, and it is smaller, but that's okay. I'm going to do a base stitch around it, and then I'll show you how I put the webbing as sort of like a bias tape around the edge. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and do a quick top stitch, and that's just going to put the 2 layers together. I'm just doing it right on the edge just because I don't want any of the stitches showing when we put the bias binding on. Okay, so now I've basted on the backing fabric, so that's what it looks like. So it's nice and clean, and you're not going to see any of the ugly threads. I'm just going to cut off the excess because this circle was based on the size of it in the beginning. Now I am a little close to this webbing, so might be a little bit more difficult when I put on the bias webbing. So I would definitely give myself a little bit more room if I were going to make another one. But these are the things that you will decide for yourself to make your life a little easier. It's still possible, but just might be a little bit more tricky. Okay, so now I have my 1 inch, and I'm going to zoom in here, and basically I'm going to take the webbing and I'm going to fold it over the edge like that, and trying to keep it even on both sides, and then we're going to sew right close to that edge right there, and then we'll just do that. If you want to pin it, you can do that. If you want to clip it, I will most likely just kind of sew a bit and then fold it over. But that's how it's going to look. It'll look really, really pretty and have a little accent color, and I really like that this kind of matches that. So I'm going to go over to the sewing machine and we will sew that on. Okay. So again, I'm going to just kind of burn those edges, trying to keep it even. And then we'll just slowly go around it. And this is going to add some more durability to the mat as well. If your puppy does like to chew, or if they end up chewing on it, then a lot of dog toys are kind of outlined with webbing to help make them a little more durable. And now we're just going to cut off and we can just kind of overlap it. Like that. All right, and it's done. How pretty is this? Here's the back. Get the threads off of it. But this is going to be so fun. I cannot wait to try it out with Blue. So if you enjoyed this tutorial, don't forget to give me a big thumbs up. Comment down below if you have any questions. And of course, don't forget, you're Okay, so we're done. How pretty is this? This is so fun. So of course, I don't know what to say. And now we're done. This is so nice and rugged and durable. This is the most durable one that you're going to find right here with the webbing, the waterproof canvas. So I'm really excited to try it out with blue. If you have any questions, of course, comment down below. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video if you enjoyed this. And of course, check out the blog post where I will have the measurements for everything, as well as where you can source the webbing, and where you can source one of these if you want to do that. And yeah, any more information about the tools and things I use, I will have links to all of those either down below or at the blog. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next tutorial. Bye guys. Oh, there you go.
There's more of that spot. Oh, did it move?
That's so cute.
You can sniff him. Well, he knows he's close to one. Yep. Get it, get it, get it, get it. Yay! Don't make it, boo-boo.
Oh, he's putting paw on it.
He's like, you need to get them all. I can't believe he actually found out I was about to help him and say like, "But you need like this." Like he figured that out on his own.
No, don't help him. That's the point. It's supposed to be slightly challenging.
Yeah, it's challenging for the boo-boo. This is cool. This is to test how good he is at smelling.
Yeah.
Smelling his own food.
Bye.